Hello, everyone, and happy Sunday. Thank you very much for joining today's show, this live stream on on my YouTube and Rumble channels. I hope you will find the new segment of today's program interesting, and also community chat itself. We have a big community chat today and fundraising stream, as it is the case on Sundays. And for the new members of our community that might be online right now, I will say that these community chat Sunday streams are a bit different. I have a new segment as always, but then I'm engaged with the chat. We are discussing all sorts of topics, by the way, literally any topic. We are not censoring ourselves here in our community. So if you have if you want to participate in a fundraising part of this stream, you can donate during the stream, and I will highlight every donation. You can donate to this project through PayPal platform. Link is under this video in description box. Also, you can use for donation Boosty platform. It's easy to navigate there. Really, you can use an existing account that you have on social media that you that are popular in your country that you probably have a counter. It's all automatic, so you can use Boosty platform for donation. Also, you can subscribe, of course, on my Patreon page. Will be great support, dear friends, for my work and this project, of course. You can find link also under this video in the description box of my Patreon. And dear friends, while I'm mentioning Patreon, let me thank 3 new members on our Patreon community for their support. Frederick, Parcels, and Nautilus. Thank you very much for joining our Patreon community. We have a 3 new members, by the way. Very rare occasion when in one day we have 3 new members on the Patreon. So thank you all for your support and attention. And yes, of course, subscription to my Patreon is a great support. And during the stream, dear friends, because my channel is only monetized on Rumble, you can use Super Chat feature on Rumble and gift subscription, month premium subscription gift card also for a donation. And I mentioned just now Patreon, isn't it? And we have a gift from Scooby, active member of our community, big supporter. And Scooby wants to give a gift to any member of our community who will take this gift first. I'm dropping right now in the chat on YouTube and Rumble link. And once you click that link, by the way, this type of page will open. Look what's gonna happen. Once you click that link, this type of page will open, and all you have to do is accept the gifter, and you will have a 1 month subscription to my Patreon, where I have updates, news updates, extra content exclusively for Patreon and Boosty channels of mine every morning by Moscow time, usually from Monday to Friday. But this week I had the updates on Saturday, Sunday too. This morning I did publish update. And so, yes, all you have to do, just click there to accept, to get the gifter, and you will join our Patreon community for next month, and hopefully you will stay. Hopefully you will like the content and you will decide to continue support my work, and hopefully you will stay. In order this project to be in a safe place, as I have said many times before, our community on Patreon needs to double at least. Right now, on Patreon, our community is like 143 people. On Boosty, only 13. So if we manage to reach on Patreon 300 members, then I think at that point I'd be able to say that this project is in a safe place. So I welcome everybody with open arms to join our Patreon and community. And okay, that's been said, dear friends. You can send your questions through support platforms, through PayPal, through Boosty, through Super Chat on Rumble, or at least if you can't do this, then but you have a question, use capital Q, please. Just use capital Q in the chat, and while joining community chat, I will scroll through commentaries there, and once I spot capital Q, I will know that this is a commentary directed to me, and I will try my best to be informative in my response. Okay, a little bit long intro, sorry for that, but it's community chat, right? It's Sunday stream, so let's go through some news now. Let's go through some news, and I will start with the update of Russian Defense Ministry about work of air defense forces past night. As you can see on your screen, 239 drones were intercepted during the night time by Russian air defenses over the Astrakhan, Belgorod, Bryansk, Kursk, Oryol, Rostov regions, over the Krasnodar Krai territory, over the Republic of Crimea and Republic of Adygea, also over the waters of the Azov and the Black Seas. One of the main direction of past night's attacks and early morning attacks also was Crimea, and there are reports on number of sources that fire have been reported in the area of seaport Kavkaz seaport, which is right opposite side of the Kerch city. And also there were reports that Kerch itself was also targeted. There some energy logistical infrastructure, and let me show you on the map where this territory is. So you can see Crimean Peninsula here, and well, this is approximate area where strikes happened. I can use this map, and once you zoom in, by the way, once you zoom in, you move towards Kerch city, and this is city itself where energy infrastructure, logistical infrastructure, portal area basically was struck as a result of this long-range attacks by Kiev regime and its NATO backers. And also on the opposite side of Kerch, you can see this peninsula here, and there is this landmass on which you can find Kavkaz port, which is a logistical hub. Basically, there is an energy infrastructure there. Also, ferries are moving from this area to Crimea itself, and unfortunately, ferry was attacked also during the past night's attacks and early morning attacks. So we have update on this matter. 4 civilians were killed in this Ukrainian/NATO drone strike on the Kerch Peninsula. This was reported by Crimean Governor Sergei Aksyonov, and also when it comes to Crimea, part of Crimea as a result of these night attacks was left without power, and as I said, ferry services across the Kerch Strait have been temporarily suspended because there was an attack on the ferry itself also, and at least one civilian was killed according to preliminary information on that ferry as a result of these attacks. A number of civilians were wounded. And of course, you know, dear friends, that situation in terms of logistics in direction of Crimea is quite difficult due to this constant long-range attacks by Kiev regime with assistance of NATO member states on logistical lines, on this not just ferry crossing, but also on this on highways, on this land bridge that connects Crimea with the mainland Russia. You know, I have reported about quite a number of these long-range attacks on the bridges that connect Crimean Peninsula with the Kherson region, for example. And even though Russian engineers are building additional crosses, pontoon bridges, and so on, of course, these constant attacks on logistical lines have its effect. And Crimea, Kherson region, Zaporozhye region, there is some shortages as a result of this destruction of their logistics. And today, today, regional governor Sergei Aksionov reported that fuel sales at the gas stations in Crimea have been suspended, once again, fully suspended, and the fuel only will be issued to services, that emergency services, and to militaries, basically, that are protecting Crimea, air defense forces. Basically, there will be no fuel sales for civilians, at least as of now, and hopefully this emergency will not last too long, and soon situation will be resolved. But as of now, there is clearly logistical and energy crisis that number of Russian regions are facing, first and foremost in the southern parts of Russia, and also in some cases in European part of the Russian Federation. Excuse me. Also, we have reports that as a result of these long-range attacks, power lines were damaged in the Kherson region, and at some point early today, Kherson, Russian-controlled part of Kherson region, which is 70%, around 70% of the region, was left without electricity, without power. But literally, like hour and a half ago, I read article on the matter, and local authorities reported that power supply has been restored to the locals, right, in Kherson region. Also, there was other directions of strikes too when it comes to Crimea. Sevastopol was one of the targets, and local authorities reported that at least 5 drones were shot down while they were approaching Sevastopol city. So unfortunately, these long-range attacks continue. It's a daily occurrence now, and if deterrent is not being restored with the collective West, unfortunately, we don't really have much of a reasons to believe that these long-range attacks will decrease in numbers, all stop completely, at least until there is a military operation is going on, right? If deterrent is restored with the collective West, and if NATO member states are forced to get out of this war, undeclared war against Russia, and to stay away, in that case, of course, it wouldn't take too much time for Russian militaries to finalize special military operation and basically end their hostility on that. Also, I want to share with you this information that it's not just Crimea, obviously, not just other parts of Russian Federation where energy infrastructure is targeted, but Zaporozhye region is no exception. And when it comes to Zaporozhye region, primary target of Kyiv regime and its NATO backers, so usually is Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. And in past 12-24 hours, Zaporozhye nuclear power plant was targeted on numerous occasions, and as a result of these attacks, power plant left without external power supply once again. And even though, dear friends, nuclear reactors in this biggest in Europe nuclear power plant are shut down, none of the nuclear reactors are operational, but to maintain safety and security on these power plants, of course, it is absolutely essential that cooling system and other extremely vital infrastructure on the station is supplied with electricity, because if a cooling system went down, then even though nuclear reactors are not working, they will overheat. They will overheat anyways without cooling system, and that might cause nuclear disaster. Of course, Western ruling class understand this perfectly well, but they just don't care. They just don't care. They are greenlighting the regime. They are ordering basically to this Western-backed terrorist regime in Kiev to continue constant attacks, long-range attacks on this nuclear power plant. And right now, and always whenever there is an absence of external power supplies, local emergency diesel electric generators are beginning to work automatically and providing power to station. But situation is clearly not normal. Situation is clearly not normal when nuclear power plant is targeted practically on daily basis. And only for so many times humanity can be lucky. that no nuclear disaster is happening. Only so many times, right? At some point, if this nuclear terrorism is not stopped from NATO member states and their Ukrainian proxies, eventually some nuclear disaster might happen there. I'm not sure if any Western media outlet is even once reported about these constant attacks on nuclear power plant. I wonder what civilians in the West would think about it, that nuclear freaking power plant has been targeted by their government, their secret services, their militaries, together with their Ukrainian Nazis and fascists practically on daily basis. And well, when it comes to these long-range attacks, dear friends, of course, Russian militaries are doing whatever is possible currently to secure these supply lines, logistical lines, but unfortunately, quite a number of drones are managing to dealt some damage and are terrorizing basically everybody that are trying to use these roads that connect, for example, Crimea to mainland Russia. And I want to show you videos how these drone attacks basically look. If you are interested, I have a video for you. Drone, US-made drone. It's what is the name of this drone? I forget, but it's a US-made drone. But usually it's a US-made drones that are used for these attacks on these logistical lines. And this US-made drone tried to strike a fuel tank, but the driver of the fuel tanker managed to react on the threat and move away from an incoming drone. And right behind the fuel truck, there was a civilian vehicle, also another civilian vehicle. And the driver on that vehicle also did manage to avoid the collision with that drone. But that's what the Kiev regime does. Both vehicles, by the way, fuel trucker and another vehicle, are civilian. Again, you can see their driver vehicle away of that fuel truck, and it's a civilian truck. It's a civilian truck that you are seeing probably every day in your countries, right? That are moving fuel for gas stations. And right behind that truck, there is this civilian, another smaller civilian car, it looks like, and both miraculously managed to avoid collision with that drone. And this is a US-made drone, by the way. Usually it's a US-made drones that are used on these attacks on civilians on southern parts of the Russian Federation. Not just US, but US plays a leading role in this war against Russia, obviously, unfortunately. Let's continue with some other news. And well, if you are interested in how many drones were intercepted by Russian air defense forces in past 24 hours, today at 12:57, about 1 p.m., RIA Novosti published this update, this information based on Defense Ministry's data that in the past 24 hours, 483 drones were intercepted by Russian air defense forces, almost 500 drones, which is quite a lot, isn't it? And this is a low number. This is a low number compared to other days, right? Lately, Kiev regime on daily basis launching 5, 7, 800 drones, 900 drones. So there are occasions when there are more than 1,000 drones that are launched to strike deep into Russian territory in a 24-hour time frame. So you can imagine the level of pressure on Russian air defense forces when so many aerial targets are coming in. And just keep in mind how vast, how massive the Russia is, right? And how difficult it is to track all these drones, right? And well, if now mostly Russian air defenses are facing drones, mostly, not exclusively, but mostly it's long-range drones produced in NATO member states, US, Canada, UK, Germany, France, all those countries. Then I'm afraid if deterrent is not restored with a collective West, and immediately, soon it will take not that long before Russian Air Defense Forces and Russian Federation basically will face dozens, potentially hundreds of missiles too, long-range missiles too, that will be launched potentially on daily basis for deep strikes on the Russian Federation. And I'm saying so because there are more and more reports, more and more public statements in Western countries, in NATO member states, that they are working together with the Kyiv regime on the mass production also of the long-range missiles, ballistic missiles, cruise missiles. And there are cases when testing phases of this work on missiles have been finalized. For example, we have this report from UK. Report is from British Telegraph, a newspaper, that UK has tested the new long-range weapons, which could soon be transferred to Ukraine to allow Kyiv to strike at Moscow. And take a look at the headline of this article itself, by the way, on Telegraph. Britain tests long-range missiles to help Ukraine bomb Moscow. They are not even hiding what's going on, right? They're so emboldened. I mean, Western ruling class, British ruling class included, they are so emboldened with their impunity with which they are for years now killing Russian citizens and targeting Russia, that they're no longer exercising constantly, at least, their plausible deniability element. And British media is openly saying that, yes, I mean, UK will produce these drones to strike Russia. Yes, they are mentioning Ukraine there, that Ukraine will bomb, but for goodness sake, one have to be, totally brainless, right? Not to understand that Western-made missiles cannot be used for long-range attacks on the Russian Federation without direct involvement of specialists from country of origin of these missiles. Everyone knows this, right? Everyone. And missiles that are being tested in UK and soon probably will be seen, will be intercepted by Russian Air Defense Forces. Those missiles allegedly will have a range of 370 to 500 miles, which is well enough to reach Moscow, for example, to strike Moscow. And each missile, according to Telegraph, will carry 250 kilogram warhead. So you can imagine the level of damage that those missiles might cause if they are carrying 250 kilos of explosive materials, high explosive materials. These long-range drones that are targeting Russian Federation, these Western long-range drones, they are carrying 50 kilo of explosive materials, about 50 kilo. There are some heavy drones that might carry 100 kilo of drones, but these cruise missiles, ballistic missiles that number of European countries, including UK, are planning basically to produce in mass, they will carry 250 kilo at least. And also we should keep in mind that in order to make these missiles as cheap as possible, those British or German or French companies in military industrial complex, they are of course minimizing precision equipment on those drones. They want to terrorize Russian people. I don't think they will pay much attention to precision in these missiles, as it is the case with their Flamingo missile, British Flamingo missile, that already being used there on numerous occasions to strike deep into Russian territory. And I'm afraid while downgrading the cost on expense of precision, there will be tremendous casualties among civilians. If now every week, as a result of long-range attacks, up to 30 to 50 civilians are killed here in Russia, and hundreds are wounded. Once long-range missiles are launched with 250 kilo warhead each or more, you can imagine level of destruction and the casualties among among civilians. Definitely something has to be done until it's not too late, because it would not take more than a couple of months, I think, if even that, before we will see dozens and dozens, potentially maybe even hundreds of drones being launched to strike deep into Russia by these NATO member states and their Ukrainian proxies. Definitely something needs to be done, and when it, first and foremost, of course, best decision in the current circumstances and most logical decision is to restore deterrent with their NATO member states, with the collective West. And maybe, by the way, even though until now Russian president did not green light Russian security services and Russian militaries to restore deterrent with the collective West, maybe due to increased threats, and also maybe due to increased appetite of the Western ruling class, which is demanding basically total capitulation from Russia. Maybe this situation will force Putin to finally greenlight Russian security services and militaries to restore deterrent. That will be a game changer, of course. That decision will be a game changer, for sure. And I think there is a slight but probability that that's exactly what Putin might do in a relatively short time. And as a possible indicator of that, we can take some statements from Ushakov, statements that he made today. Let me give you some of them. Western countries need to carefully analyze the situation on the battlefield. Aide of Russian President Yuri Ushakov said, and he noted that on this battlefield, Russian armed forces are constantly advancing. Also, he said the West is mistaken in hoping to defeat Russia. And this comment of Ushakov probably is related exactly with this ultimatum, language of ultimatums that Western ruling class is using, because yet again, they are extremely emboldened, and they are publicly saying that they are winning. Just like yesterday or day before, I watched short interview of Ursula von der Leyen, head of European Commission, and she is a high-ranking puppet of globalists, right? In EU bureaucracy, she is number one. And she was saying to journalists that they are winning, Russia is losing, and breakthrough had happened. Tide is being turned, and she was using such a rhetoric, such a language that one have to be absolutely convinced in a victory to say something like that, right? And that's exactly what is happening with the Western ruling class. They are extremely confident and emboldened with this impunity with which they are harming Russian people and the Russian Federation for years now. And one can understand why in such circumstances they will use a language of ultimatums with Russia. So much so that even if, no matter how much Putin would like to see some sort of a political solution right now, immediately before, let's say, September's parliamentary elections here in Russian Federation, if demands from Western ruling class is just too high, extremely high, so much so that Putin and his administration would not be able to sell it to public as a victory, or at least draw or something like that, obviously he would not be able to agree on it. And maybe discussions has already happened in Putin's inner circle, and that's why Ushakov said that West is mistaken in hoping to defeat Russia. And Western elites are not hoping nothing. They are quite confident that they are defeating Russia. Take a look at the rhetoric that they use, man. Also, Ushakov went to say, at the moment, one side is still committed to encourage to understandings that were discussed in Anchorage, while the other side, it seems, was not quite able to fulfill its part of the agreement. again, encourage is being said. Again, he's freaking encouraged, by the way. Ushakov is referring to some agreements that allegedly were reached between Trump and Putin in Alaska during the Alaska summit. And the reports are that Putin agreed on some serious concessions there. But yet again, because Western ruling class is tremendously emboldened, their demands are, I guess, much higher than concessions that Putin can agree on. And maybe that's why Washington is in no hurry to fulfill its part of obligations that Trump took on himself. And yet again, it is up to all of you, dear friends, how you will interpret these statements of Ushakov. Is he once again hopeful that Anchorage summit will somehow help her to deal with this situation, or he's critical, bit critical in his statements because maybe there is no hopes left in Kremlin that Anchorage will lead them to anywhere. Difficult to say. Also, Ushakov stated Russia is not waiting for the implementation of their agreements reached in Anchorage, but is counting on a victory and the realization of its own goals. So, okay, this last statement definitely can be seen as an indicator that maybe Putin had enough, really, finally. Maybe Putin had enough, and he is about to greenlight Russian militarism to take necessary action to restore deterrent with the collective West. I don't know, dear friends. I don't know. I'm still skeptical that Putin will greenlight Russian security services and militaries. But never say never, isn't it? Never say never. And so anything is possible. Anything is possible. Maybe the statements of Ushakov are hints to what is about to happen. Maybe. Because we need to restore deterrent, by the way. We need to restore deterrent with the collective West. It's absolutely necessary. Longer we continue this restraint policy, in more and more difficult situation, Russian leadership will find itself, and Russian Federation and Russian people will find itself. We cannot continue with these restraint policies. We should end it 4 years ago, right? We should never even implement this restraint policy, but we have to do something. We have to do something now, at least until it's too freaking later, and until hundreds of freaking long-range cruise missiles are launched to strike deep into Russian territory. And yet again, just imagine horror that those hundreds of long-range cruise missiles and ballistic missiles can cause, right, on Russian territory if deterrent is not restored. And yet again, and if there is no political solution in place, if war continues, and war will continue, I guess, because demands from the West are just too high on such a level that I don't think Putin will be able to agree on those demands. But let's see. Meanwhile, Russian militaries, of course, are targeting the military and logistical infrastructure of the hostile side. There is retaliatory strikes, long-range precision retaliatory strikes that are happening from Russian side, that are happening on a daily basis. And we had quite a number of reports about it when ballistic missiles, hypersonic missiles were used. And when it comes to these missiles, Russian missiles, by the way, New York Times published article, and in this article acknowledged, based on its sources, that the regime is only able to intercept 1/3 of incoming Russian missiles. 2/3 is reaching target, which is not bad result, really. Not bad result, but I don't know what to make of this article in New York Times. Is this actually the truth, or New York Times is publishing this information to put some more pressure on Washington, together with other so-called Western media outlets, to allocate more air defense systems for the Kiev regime, more long-range weapons for the Kiev regime, and so on. But that's the article, by the way, in New York Times, which claims that 2/3 of Russian missiles are reaching the target. And when I say there was a Russian retaliatory strikes in past 24 hours, well, there was, and well, Russian militaries launched, Russian aerospace forces launched Kinzhal hypersonic missiles towards Starokonstantinov Air Base, and also airfield in Zhytomyr region was targeted. Hopefully, strikes were successful, and Kiev regime lost its military infrastructure there, planes potentially. No details being provided to public on this matter. Also, we have reports this morning. There were reports, and I published it on my Telegram and Twitter X pages, that a series of explosions occurred in Poltava, Dnipropetrovsk, and the Kharkov regions. Also, explosions were heard in Zhytomyr, Khmelnytsky, and Odessa regions. This is all Russian retaliatory strikes. Also, TASS news agency reported that Russian forces strike energy infrastructure on the Kiev controlled territory that is linked to Kiev regime's military activity, military industrial complex, railway, movement of troops on the railway, and so on. And explosions were heard in Kiev, Sumy, and Chernigov regions. That's their direction where this energy infrastructure was struck, and the military industrial complex facilities. And also, there were reports, by the way, yesterday, this was yesterday, that Russian forces launched missiles, ballistic missiles, to strike the Dnieper hydroelectric power station, but that was a preliminary report. Later on, more information became available, and according to latest data, Russian militaries were targeting bridges on the Dnieper River in Zaporozhye city area. And well, this is not necessarily first instance when bridges were targeted on the Dnieper River, but these kind of attacks are not really happening that often. And many people here in Russia are asking questions: how come that those bridges are still standing on the Dnieper? And who knows, by the way, maybe Russian militaries received, not maybe, for sure, Russian militaries received green light to take action against those bridges that connect Zaporozhye city with the left bank, of, and that's the bridges that we are talking about, by the way. This is the bridges on this map. This is basically basis for this map is probably Google, and Google is updating parts of Russia, but rarely doing update on Kiev controlled territory. In regards to Kiev controlled territory, these bridges are not destroyed, by the way. You might think these bridges are destroyed already. No, this is not the case. Google is deleting this. Google is just deleting this stuff, but will be destroyed, these bridges. This bridge is going to be destroyed. This is a power plant on the Dnieper and the dam. And there is also basically roadway on this dam. And maybe if Russian militaries received the order, and they clearly received the order, isn't it? Otherwise, there would be no strikes on those bridges, to take out those bridges. Then I guess this is a part of preparations for a possible winter offensive, right, towards Zaporozhye city. If, of course, conflict, military phase of conflict continues, and there will be no some sort of a Minsk agreement reached during this summer. That's how I see these attacks on these bridges, because to take down the Soviet builder infrastructure, you have to strike those bridges, I don't know, hundreds of times probably, right? They are built to withstand even nuclear explosions if nuclear warhead didn't strike exactly the bridge. That's how powerful those bridges are. So this information that bridges was targeted also can be seen as an indicator that maybe there is some change or in the mood in the Kremlin. And if so, we might see similar strikes on the bridges on the Dnieper River and Dnipropetrovsk region also. Let's see. Let's see, by the way. What else have I bookmarked? Well, there is a lot of news left, dear friends. But before I continue, let me highlight, dear friends, that especially for possible new members of community, or maybe people are watching that not yet decided to join our community, did not yet subscribe to the channel. Subscribe, by the way. Let me highlight once again that this independent media project from Russia that I'm trying to build there is completely subscriber funded. And if you like my work, if you want to support independent media, my work, my media project, you can do it through several means, dear friends. You can subscribe to my Patreon page. And as I said many times, in order this project to be in a more or less safe place, our community needs to double on Patreon, which is very, very difficult. But yeah, that's the task. So please consider to subscribe to my Patreon. Link is under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. You can subscribe to my Boosty page if for whatever reason Patreon is not for you. There is a possibility to subscribe on the Patreon. It's a monthly subscription. It starts from $5, and you can choose your level of support, what you can afford there. Also, you can use PayPal. By the way, it's not my PayPal; it's my wife's PayPal, but you can use it. I don't have PayPal, but she does. So you can use that PayPal to donate to this project. Links also, of course, under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. And during the live stream itself, you can use a super chat feature on Rumble to donate, to highlight any question or commentary that you have, and also to donate to the channel. And you can use a premium subscription gift card on Rumble. You can see there on Rumble this gift box. You click there, and you choose how many gift cards you want to purchase. 1, 2, 3. Each gift card is a $5 donation to this project. So this gift card feature can be used there also as a tool of donation, like buy me coffee. For example, it was $5 also, isn't it, on buy me coffee, the starting point. And I used to have a buy me coffee years ago, but I don't have now because they are using payment system they are using different payment system, Stripe, and Stripe is not working here in Russia. Neither in Georgia, by the way. Otherwise, I would have a buy me coffee. So there are certain ways how you can support the friends. All the links are under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. And right now, during the first part of our news segment, there was a donation through PayPal. Dear friends. So let me highlight this. There was a donation from Mr. S. Keep up your excellent work. Mr. S is commenting. Thank you very much, Mr. S, for your £10 donation on the PayPal. Thank you very much. I appreciate your support and attention. Thank you. And dear friends, let's continue with Let's continue with some other news. Let me check to make sure that this Scooby's gift card was, yes, it was accepted by member of our community. So Scooby, if you are watching, your gifter of 1 month subscription on my Patreon page has been accepted by one of the members of our community. So thank you very much once again for your support, and thank you new member of our Patreon community. Hopefully you will like there, and you will prefer to continue support of my work after this after months passes. Okay, that's been said, dear friends. Let's continue with some other news. And as I said, there is a lot of news. TASS news agencies reported that Russian militaries began evacuating first residents of Konstantinovka. Russian troops are feeling comfortable enough now in many parts of the city to begin safe evacuation of their civilians. And this is definitely an indicator that it's only a matter of possibly hours, maybe days, and Konstantinovka will be declared fully liberated from hostile forces. Right now, clearing operation is still underway, and we have this report, for example, that Russian forces cleared 104 buildings in the past 12 to 24 hours alone in Konstantinovka. And also, dear friends, Russian troops are finalizing clearing operation in Liman, another major stronghold of Kiev regime. And in the past 12 to 24 hours, 53 more buildings were cleared from presence of the hostile troops there. And as I have said many times before, I expect both these major cities in the DPR, Konstantinovka and Liman, to be liberated, to be declared fully liberated anytime, literally anytime. I think 80-90% of these cities already are under Russian control. There are small pockets of resistance, but obviously these are big cities, relatively big towns, and of course Russian militaries will take whatever time is necessary to conduct this clearing operation as carefully as they can, right, to minimize casualties among Russian troops. Also, I want to share with you, dear friends, this information that Russian troops are so close now to Kramatorsk, Slavyansk, this last major stronghold, basically last major defense line of the Kiev regime in DPR, that Russian FPV drones are basically hunting on enemy military assets inside on the streets of Kramatorsk and Slavyansk. And they are eliminating whatever assets of enemy they can see. And I can show you video. I can show you short video, dear friends, of work of Russian FPV drones in Kramatorsk and surrounding areas. This is usually it's a pickup trucks. Not that many armored vehicles are deployed by enemy. Usually it's a civilian truck. Sometimes they are painting civilian trucks in military camouflage. Often they don't. They just disguise themselves to be civilians, but obviously they are not. And well, Russian militaries are, of course, monitoring the situation, and they're taking out. Also, a lot of ground drones are used there. In Kramatorsk, Slavyansk areas, and other directions too. Example of the ground drone there. Another one. So in the beginning of this video, you can see this is Kramatorsk itself, inside the Kramatorsk, and Russian drones are flying around, monitoring situation, eliminating enemy assets whenever they encounter one. And When it comes to this last major defense line of the Kiev regime in the DPR, Kramatorsk, Slaviansk, dear friends, I have said quite a few times before that there is a probability, I think, that some sort of a Minsk-free agreement will be reached, or some sort of a political agreement will be reached between the collective West and the Russian Federation, and there will be cessation of the hostilities during this summer. And if so, in that case, I don't think we will see street fights inside the Kramatorsk and Slaviansk. Probably during the negotiations, decision will be made that Kiev regime will withdraw its forces from these cities and the rest of the DPR. And in exchange, Russian president probably will order Russian troops to withdraw from Kharkov region, maybe from Sumy region, from the Dnipropetrovsk region. And so if some sort of a political agreement is reached there, probably there will be no battles for Slaviansk and Kramatorsk. But due to high increased appetite of the Western ruling class, if agreement is not reached, and talks behind the scenes already are taking place, by the way, a few days ago I reported that one of the high-ranking bureaucrat in Brussels, EU bureaucrat Koster, his administration, his team was contacting Kremlin administration, right, to establish this backdoor of communication. So they are talking already. Question is, will they find their ground on which they can have some agreement? It all depends, yet again, on demands that Western ruling class has. But if there is no agreement, obviously Russian troops will continue special military operation, and in that case, of course, maybe not this summer, maybe not necessarily this summer, although anything is possible, but during the winter time, probably we will begin receiving reports about battles inside these cities. Yet again, if no political resolution being reached in next 3 to 5 weeks. Let's see. Also, I want to share with you, dear friends, well, this information, this is also interesting. Russian FPV drone was monitoring Russian airstrike on one of the logistical lines, some bridge type of infrastructure there in the Kupiansk direction, where Russian troops are also moving forward, and they are cutting off retreating opportunities to retreat for the Kiev regime's forces. And I want to share with you this short video to highlight how significantly precision of Russian glide bombs increased. It's quite impressive, by the way, because these glide bombs are landing literally like next to each other, and this infrastructure was almost completely obliterated. It was destroyed, it was damaged seriously, and it would not be usable for heavy military equipment. Maybe on a foot someone will dare to cross it, maybe, but for vehicles it's out of action for sure. But precision of the strikes is at least that's how it looks, man. It's quite good, and I want to share this video therefore with you. You can see there are 4 explosions, right? 4 explosions, literally right next to each other, and then drone flies. This FPV drone flies forward, and at one point you can see parts of this infrastructure bridge, basically, that was, destroyed, basically, right? For heavy equipment, this bridge is no longer operational. On a foot, one might cross it, but on a foot, they might try to cross this area through the land also. So I wanted to highlight that precision of Russian glide bombs are definitely increasing significantly, and will continue to increase. No doubts about that. Also, I want to share with you this information that Kyiv regime is deploying heavy mechanized brigade to Sumy direction, where Russian troops also advancing. So, following the success of Russian forces, excuse me, the Ukrainian armed forces have redeployed troops from a heavy mechanized brigade to Sumy region. Security officials told the RIA Novosti, according to source, no group of forces of the Russian Federation is advancing heavily in a region, actively in a region, supported by Russian aerospace forces and the drone cruiser. They are striking militants and their equipment to prevent further advancement of the Russian military's Kyiv regime. Transferred units of 29th Separate Heavy Mechanized Brigade in direction of line of contact in Sumy sector. They were formed, this brigade was formed last fall on the basis of 29th Separate Tank Battalion. He added, and by the way, if heavy mechanized brigades are deployed towards Sumy, probably we will begin soon seeing more and more videos of destruction of tanks and infantry fighting vehicles on line of contact, potentially Western-made tanks and infantry fighting vehicles, because I don't think Kyiv regime has that many Soviet era T-64s and T-72s left. Maybe they still have some of those Soviet era tanks that they get from former Warsaw Pact member states in Eastern Europe, but I think we're gonna see some Abrams tanks being burned and the Leopard 2 tanks being burned again on line of contact. Let's see. And well, obviously, Kyiv regime is in no position to regain initiative on any of the directions on a front line. They might launch 10, 15, 20 suicidal counteroffensive operations. They might even infiltrate certain directions a little bit, but they cannot hold the territory. They cannot hold the line because of the lack of manpower. And FPV drones alone are not a panacea. You cannot hold the line only with FPV drones. You need manpower. And this is a big issue for the Kyiv regime, obviously. And one of the ways how Western backers of this terrorist regime in Ukraine want to deal with this situation is to force Kyiv regime to begin mobilizing youth, teenagers, basically, from 18 to 23, and also to force military-age men in Europe out of the EU and to be sent in Ukraine, so that then they can be forcefully mobilized and thrown into trenches, right? A number of countries already are moving very actively in this direction to prepare grounds for mass deportations of military-age Ukrainians. And Germany is definitely among those countries. I expect Poland will be the first. That will begin mass deportations of military-age men. But others will follow, Germany included. And on this matter, we have, for example, report that Bavarian prime minister, and Bavaria is one of the richest areas of Germany, isn't it? So therefore, influence is quite big, I guess. I never lived in Germany, by the way, so this is just my guess. So Bavarian prime minister and SCU leader Markus Söder called for ending welfare payments to Ukrainians. Speaking about the large-scale tax reforms, Söder told the Bild, and this is quote, "We will have to consider reducing subsidies to ensure funding. For example, this applies to Bürgergelder benefits." I don't know what Bürgergeld means, by the way. In German, it is unacceptable that after the reform their expenditures will remain at the same level of 50 billion euros. Therefore, the standard rates of Bürgergelder should be the subject of the serious discussion. It is necessary to immediately arrange for the transfer of Ukrainians to a different legal status so that they are no longer financed at the expense of and through the Bürgergeld system. So that's what is happening, by the way. And as I said, it's not just Poland, not just Germany, many other countries are now pushing on this narrative that Ukrainians should be sent back to controlled territory, should be mobilized, and should die in this Western proxy war against Russia. And they will find justifications, by the way. They will come up with the justifications, and locals will support it. Significant part of the local population will support it because look the rhetoric. This Bavarian prime minister is not saying that, well, we should sacrifice these younger people that are coming from Ukraine, military-age men. He's not using this language that we're going to sacrifice these ones, right? Tens of thousands of them, hundreds of thousands of them for our geopolitical agenda. No, he's saying something different that, you know what, I mean, these people are taking money, right, from budget, and we have to do some reforms, and this and that, and I mean, we have to prioritize, our own. And eventually, majority probably in Germany and elsewhere will say, yeah, of course. I mean, if it comes to choose between our citizens and Ukrainians, then send them into Ukraine, let them die there, right? Now I'm going to say it openly, but people will keep quiet. And therefore, those citizens of Ukraine that are in Europe, by the way, those citizens of Ukraine that are in Europe, that are paying any attention to media, any attention to what is going on, they should move away until they have opportunity. Because soon, citizens of Ukraine might be prohibited to leave EU territory in any direction other than Ukraine. If now they can still buy a ticket and move somewhere out of EU, soon they would not have that opportunity. Only direction will be open for them is Kiev controlled territory. It's so obvious, isn't it? So they should run, man. Those are citizens of Ukraine that are in EU. They should run. Now, also, dear friends, I mean, this is quite a bigger news segment, isn't it, dear friends? Quite a big news segment, but there are a lot of news. There are a lot of news that are, I mean, interesting, important, I think. And so, there is a escalation between Warsaw and Kiev, between Poland and Kiev regime. In my previous updates, I spoke about it in quite a length. I will not go into details again, but I will just highlight that because Polish president stripped Zelensky of the Order of the White Eagle for glorification of Ukrainian Nazis and the fascists that collaborated with the Nazi Germany and were involved in a mass killing of their civilians, Polish civilians and others. Well, there was reactions, by the way, and now 3 former Ukrainian presidents have renounced the Polish Order of the White Eagle that was taken by Polish president from Zelensky. Other officials, by the way, in the Kiev-controlled territory and Kiev regime also renouncing their medals, whatever medals they got from Poland. And, ex-Polish Prime Minister Leszek Leszek, how you say this name, by the way? Leszek Miller stated that, Ukraine should return tanks and jets also together with those medals.
Ukrainian officials protesting Warsaw's revocation of the Vladimir Zelensky's state honor should also return the military equipment supplied by Poland, including MiG fighter jets and the tanks. Former Polish Prime Minister Lech Miller has said. And of course, Kiev regime not going to return nothing to Warsaw. And by the way, Polish elites should be careful because right now, Ukrainian Nazis have much more capable and maybe even no any less equipped formations, battle-tested formations that Polish army does. And therefore, no one in Poland should be surprised if Zelensky and his inner circle and also leadership of Ukrainian Nazis, generally speaking, will demonstrate tremendous arrogance, right? And even aggression, demonstrative aggression towards Poland, because probably they are quite sure that they can destroy Polish army at will. And to be honest, I mean, even though Russian armed forces are beating on a battlefield Kiev regime's formations, I mean, still one should say, by the way, that Kiev regime's battle-tested formations are right now probably second after Russian militaries in this world when it comes to high-intensity ground combat. And if they think they can eliminate Polish army, they can defeat Polish army in a battle, probably they are correct. And from that, there's Ukrainian Nazis and fascists might, based on that, they might actually act very with extreme arrogance towards the Poland and aggression, right? We will see this, man. We will see. And the process is already underway, kind of. Foreign Minister of Zelensky is already stating that, well, there is ethnic pressure on Ukrainians, citizens of Ukraine in Poland based on their origin, based on their nationality. And nationality, I mean citizenship of the country, because I don't recognize ethnicity under the name of Ukraine. There is no such ethnicity, never existed, will never exist. It's all freaking BS, and I'm not playing no freaking games on that. People that are calling themselves Ukrainians are Poles, Hungarians, Russians, right? There is no such a freaking thing as a Ukrainian ethnicity, but that's a whole different story. There are people that are citizens of this creation of the Bolsheviks, right? That Ukraine is. So, Foreign Minister of this creation of the Bolsheviks, Andrei Sibiga, complained about the rise of anti-Ukrainian sentiment in Poland. We are already seeing significant increase in anti-Ukrainian sentiment in Poland. As a minister, I am receiving information about numerous incidents in various regions of Poland, attacks on Ukrainians, their humiliation, and their bullying of the children in Poland. Sibiga said during all Ukrainian telethon, this sort of a TV marathon, by the way, of propaganda that is happening there. And you think why Sibiga is saying that Poles are treating Ukrainians poorly and insulting Ukrainians and bullying Ukrainians? Because they know that this kind of statements will be liked by Nazis, big time, Ukrainian Nazis, and they will manage possibly to rally masses, right, behind the flags that, hey, you see, I mean, on one side we have Russians, on the other side there are Poles, right? They're all attacking us. So let's rally behind the flags some more. They're not going to apologize, by the way. If anybody in Poland expects that either Zelensky or Sibiga or anyone else will apologize for glorification of Ukrainian Nazis and the fascists and mass murderers, I mean, they are mistaken. There are going to be no apologies from Kiev, from this Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky. None. If anything, they will act aggressively towards Poland. Because yet again, probably they have reason to believe that the army are well capable to defeat on the battlefield Polish armed forces. And I have said many times before, by the way, right now on the in the zone of special military operation, two most capable armies are in the clash: Russian armed forces and Kiev regime's armed forces. And even though Russian armed forces are defeating on the battlefield Kiev regime's armed forces, they are still capable. These Kiev regime's battalions and brigades, they still are capable of defeating Polish army, man. I'm quite sure about it. Because they are battle tested, man. They know what high intensity war is. Polish militaries don't. They have no freaking idea. And I remind you, dear friends, that a couple of months ago, there were military exercises in one of the NATO countries. And as an adversary to imitate Russian troops, NATO called a unit from Ukraine. And this unit was operating with the drones, and they literally eliminate NATO forces during their exercise. There was rehearsals, right? NATO command could not believe that this is happening, so there were rehearsals again and again and again and again, and every time this unit from Kiev controlled territory was imitating Russian troops, they were eliminating NATO formations. So there is a reason to believe that even heavily beaten by Russian militaries, armed forces of Ukraine are well capable of destroying Polish armed forces and any armed forces in NATO. Anyways, it's not just escalation between Poland and Ukraine. There is escalation, by the way, much more important. I will argue. From Russian standpoint, there is escalation between this terrorist Zelensky's regime and Belarusian leadership. Zelensky issued a 1-week ultimatum to Belarus to basically move away from borderline regions, whatever military equipment is there. Of course, Minsk would not accept this tone of conversation, would not move anything anywhere. And I think Kiev regime will attack because this escalation is not a product of Zelensky's brain or brain of anybody in his inner circle. This escalation is a product of orders that they are receiving from London, first and foremost from London. Right, and if London has made decision that they're gonna provoke a war with Belarus to then go for long-range attacks on Belarusian industry and their energy sector, and that's what they're gonna do. That's what they're gonna do. And yesterday evening, Zelensky once again threatened Belarus after ultimatum, and he said that. His militaries know all the warehouses, all their companies, all of the infrastructure in Belarus that is, according to Zelensky, is assisting Russian Federation to carry out special military operations. So Zelensky come up with their justification why they're gonna attack Belarus. London and Western ruling class basically will use the very same argumentation to justify attacks on Belarus. So therefore, I think it's literally matter of a week or two, and Belarus will be drawn into this war. It seems inevitable. Only way this process can be stopped is if Moscow right now, today, tomorrow, in next several days, will take some steps that will restore the terror with their NATO. That's the only way how this process of escalation towards Belarus might be stopped. Other than that, there is no ways, right? So Belarusian militaries, Belarusian security services, Belarusian civilians should get ready for a war, because war is coming. And of course, by the way, Belarusian economy is tightly, closely tied with closely engaged with the Russian economy, integrated, and the Belarusian military industrial complex is actively cooperating with the Russian military industrial complex. Belarusian energy sector is actively greatly tied with the Russian energy sector, because Belarus on its own has no oil, massive oil production, right? All that they get is coming from Russia, and Belarus is selling to Russia petrol products, gasoline and diesel and stuff like that. And Belarusian petrol product imports are playing, are helping Moscow to stabilize the situation on the energy market, for example, right? And that's the reasons. That's why Western ruling class, that's why London is orchestrating now war with the Belarus, and they're gonna launch this war. By the way, it's if deterrent, if Russia will not restore deterrent with the NATO, with collective West in next several days, in near future, then Belarus is gonna be attacked, and there is no doubts about it, right? Also, Middle East, of course. Let's go through some updates about Middle East, and then let's have a community chat. By the way, I'm a little tired now with this freaking news. Dear friends, on 19th of June, there should be official signing ceremony in Switzerland between U.S. and Iranian sides. Signing of this MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. It did not happen because of the violation of the ceasefire by Israel. Iran did not send its delegation, and instead of sending delegation, Iran shut down Strait of Hormuz, right? Despite statements from Iranian militaries that Strait of Hormuz is shut down, and they already demonstrated a million times that they are in charge, right? If they say Strait is closed, that means Strait is closed, right? But nevertheless, for whatever reason, SETCOM decided yesterday evening by Moscow time, that was to make a statement that, Strait of Hormuz is open and so many vessels pass through and this and that. I don't know why SETCOM, who leads the SETCOM? Who is responsible for public relations in SETCOM? That someone should be fired, man. They are doing extremely poor job, right? I mean, the whole world is laughing at the statements of SETCOM. And what the hell is this, right? But in reality, Strait of Hormuz was shut down and still is closed, by the way. But nevertheless, yesterday there was reports that Witkoff is moving to Switzerland to have a talks with the Iranian side, and later on, reports came in that J.D. Vance also flew to Switzerland to participate in the talks with the Iranian sides, and those talks are happening right now. Before I launched this live stream, there was a report on one of the Telegram channels based on Pakistani officials that negotiations between Iran and the US has begun in Switzerland. So J.D. Vance is there also, and these talks between the sides become possible because yesterday late evening by Moscow time, Israeli leadership stated that they are ordering their militaries to ceasefire in Lebanon, that created the grounds basically for Iranian side to justify sending delegation to Switzerland and to engage in the talks. When it comes to these negotiations itself, Iran's spokesperson of the Iran's foreign ministry, Baghei, stated that there is only 1 day of talks with US that is scheduled, at least for now. violations we are witnessed so far will be brought up very promptly during the negotiations with the American sides by Iranians, Baghei stated there. And when it comes to Strait of Hormuz, as I said, it's closed. Only vessels that are moving around, these are vessels that are entering or leaving Iranian ports. Rest is staying away from Hormuz. Also, different, sir. Literally two more news, sir, for now. Starmer, Prime Minister of UK, Keir Starmer, might resign Monday, tomorrow, according to Telegraph, and many other media outlets are reporting that days or maybe even hours for Starmer as a prime minister is numbered. Let's see. As I said in today's first update on my Patreon and Boost pages, I personally don't think there is any difference really. What is the name of British Prime Minister? Keir Starmer, Beer Starmer, Near Starmer, or not Starmer? It does not matter what is the name of Prime Minister. True decision makers are not the prime ministers, but shadow forces, right? British ruling class, aristocracy, and so on. And therefore, one might understand frustration. One might perfectly well understand frustration among British citizens that are in mass realizing this now. Many people knew it like forever, but more and more British citizens are waking up to this reality that it's a freaking uniparty system, political system is not delivering, it's corrupt, right, and cannot be trusted. And the British aristocracy, which is a leading force among globalists, by the way, British aristocracy, British ruling class has a big issue on its hands. Big issue on its hands because I don't even know what they're gonna do, man, to maintain control over the situation in UK. And they are little by little, but we have seen more and more indicators that British ruling class is losing grip on the mindset of the people, and also they are losing control of their narratives in UK. Therefore, and this is big issue. This is big issue. I know there are experts, and I spoke about it in my previous programs, that think that one of the reasons why London is so actively pushing for why the war with Russia, exactly their collapse of trust towards the system inside the country, and while provoking why the war with Russia, British ruling class hopes to rally masses against around the flag. British ruling class hopes to send and eliminate basically on the battlefield their most active and capable military age men that otherwise might become a part of a possible uprising in the country. And this might work actually, right? I see logic behind this kind of take and explanation. But yet again, I think those people that are waking up in UK probably are intelligent enough to understand that Russia is not their enemy. And Russian people are not their enemy. Those people probably understand that their true enemy is their own ruling class. And so I think British ruling class and the Western ruling class, generally speaking, gonna fail if they think that, well, they will launch a wider war, open war with Russia, and they will get rid of all these awakened people on the battlefield so that they will maintain their power, their status would not be challenged. But they're gonna fail, man. They're gonna fail in this. We will see. We will see. And well, today's Sunday, tomorrow is Monday. Let's see if Stam I can show you a video. Oh, there was issues with the buffering, isn't it? Hopefully, live is normal now. And this is the video, dear friends, that I want to show you about this Lancer drone in Africa. So it's a pickup truck. What terrorists do? Terrorists use quite often pickup trucks and bikes too, by the way. And pickup truck was spotted there, and Lancer drone was launched. I don't know, was this Russian militaries, Russian African Corps, or this was Malian militaries that might receive some Lancer drones from Russia. But either way, I think this is first documented case of deployment of Lancer drone on the African continent. Interesting. Once this special military operation will end, by the way, I'm quite sure Russian military industrial complex is gonna be very, very, very busy, right? Very busy, by the way. I mean, they're gonna sell weapons, battle-tested weapons, like hotcakes. It's gonna be tremendous demand all over the world. And dear friends, before I join community chat, let's check some media outlets for possible breaking news. Let's see RIA Novosti. Iran names conditions for opening the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, let's see what these conditions are. The Strait of Hormuz will remain closed until Tel Aviv ceases attacks on Lebanon and Washington unblocks Iranian funds and lifts oil sanctions. Tasnim report citing source. That's quite a move, by the way, isn't it? That's quite a move from Iranian side there. That's a big deal. Okay, interesting. Also, let's check TASS News Agency. Vance announced significant progress in negotiations in Switzerland. Okay. Pakistani Foreign Ministry stating that Iran will not impose duties in the Strait of Hormuz for 60 days. Well, Strait is closed. So they don't have to impose duties anyways, as long as the strait is closed. Rosaviatia suspended their search for the Robinson R-44 due to darkness. Unfortunately, this helicopter crashed in Primoria region of the Russian Federation. This is Far Eastern, and it's already nighttime there, by the way, in the Far Eastern. If here it's 4:30, in Primoria it's, I don't know, difference is 10 hours, 11 hours, I don't even know, man. Russia has 11 time zones. I mean, that's how big this country is. So well, let's hope whoever was on board of the helicopter will survive. So that's it, I guess, for this report. Ukrainian, another bus was targeted, by the way, by Ukrainian terrorists. A regular bus in Zaporozhye region was damaged by Ukrainian armed forces drone attack, according to regional governor. On the R280 highway, this is on a land bridge that connects Crimea with mainland Russia, near the exit from the village of Kirpichne, shrapnel from their drone damaged the Melitopol Kirpichne Fructove bus. According to him, the side and the window were damaged. The driver and the two passengers were on the bus at the time of the attack. There were no injuries. So, okay, there were no injuries. Bus can be restored. Thanks God there is no injuries as a result of this attack. So, well, that's some of the additional news there. And now let me join community chat, dear friends. Now let me join community chat. There was, as I already mentioned, in the middle of the stream, there was during the this live stream, there was one donation through PayPal, donation of £10 from Mr. Esser. Keep up your excellent work. This is a comment from Mr. Esser. Thank you very much again for your support and attention. And also, dear friends, there was one premium subscription gift card on Rumble from Viper, which is a $5 donation, by the way. So in terms of fundraising, we have $15 at this point. Many thanks to all, of course. And let me highlight this premium subscription gift card from Viper on Rumble. Thank you, Viper, for your support and the donation. This is, as I said, each is such a gift card that you can either give to someone then to have a premium subscription, or you cannot. But every time you buy this gift card on Rumble, that's a $5 donation to this project. So thank you, Viper, for this support. And let me check Rumble. So there was no super chats on Rumble as of now. Let me scroll, dear friends. Let me scroll now through chatter. I will go to the beginning and I will scroll from there. And of course, I will react on the comments that are directed to me. And if there is any questions through super chat or any donations, I will also react on that too. Let me check Boosty, just in case. And there is nothing from Boosty. Okay, let's scroll. Let's scroll now. Chatter. If I see any question or the commentary that is directed to me, I will react on it. If not, then well, we will have a relatively shorter program today. Interesting comment I spotted, dear friends. True Gambit is commenting, it bothers me that Trump talks about killing and bombing and is never called a tyrant. Why does not Russia take off the gloves and deal with Zelensky? It confuses me. And it's not just you, True Gambit, it's not just you that this situation confuses. Many people are confused, frustrated, finding difficult to explain what's going on, why leadership of this Western-backed terrorist regime in Ukraine has not been eliminated until now, why NATO member states are allowed to continue these attacks, strikes on Russian Federation with the total impunity. But yet again, it's only Russian President Vladimir Putin that can actually give us answers on this, right? Only he knows what's going on, because I mean, it's difficult to understand, really. It's really difficult to understand. Maybe because, as I said during the news segment, if there is a probability that due to impunity with which Western ruling class is killing Russian citizens and targeting Russia, they might get so emboldened that their demands from Putin might be so high that Putin might not be able to agree, right? So therefore, this extreme emboldenment, extreme confidence of Western ruling class might actually derail the process that some of us are seeing contours at least. It might derail this process of a movement towards some sort of political resolution. I mean, call it a Minsk free or whatever, but there is a process, isn't it, in a way that can be derailed because of these extreme ambitions of the Western ruling class. And if Russian president will think for himself that with these guys, no reasonable agreement, even with some compromises from Russian side, but with these guys, no reasonable agreement can be reached, then only choice he will have is to probably, on one hand, to continue special military operation, and on the other hand, to restore deterrent with the collective West, right? And in that case, if that decision is made, then Russian security services, Russian militaries will receive green light finally from Russian president. And trust me, it would not take long for Russian security forces to restore either deterrent or to finalize then special military operation. But for now, it's all up to Russian president, right? And his plans, whatever plans he has. And on this question that you are asking, only he can answer. No one else can. Thank you for your commentary. And dear friends, right now there was another premium gift card from Viper on Rumble, and also there was a super chat from Data Close. Let me react on this, dear friends, and I will continue. So let me highlight this. So Viper, once again, thank you. Another premium subscription gift card on Rumble, and Data Close, thank you very much for your super chat, $5 donation, and commentary, which says, thank you, Levan. As always, your reports are excellent. Have faith in Russian strike. It will happen. I hope so. I hope so. We have to restore the deterrent, Data Close. We just have to restore the deterrent, because otherwise situation will become extremely dangerous. Because if Western ruling class is not being stopped, if Western ruling class is not being deterred, one can only imagine how far they can go. So I really hope we will restore the deterrent and we will keep Western ruling class in check. This is absolutely necessary, not just for Russia and for Russian people, but for whole of humanity, I will argue. So I am hopeful. I did not lose hope completely. I'm hopeful, and let's hope the deterrent will be restored with as soon as possible. Let's hope for that. Thank you very much, Data Closer, once again, and thank you, Viper, for your premium subscription gift card. And right now, dear friends, there was also donation through PayPal from Christopher. Let me highlight this also. So thank you very much, Christopher, for your $10 donation through PayPal. And Christopher is commenting, hello, Levan, what's happened to your Russian back? Thank you for the update. You are talking about Ramagir. You are talking about green screen. Quality of video. Thank you for a donation, Christopher, once again, and for your question. Well, what happened is that, unfortunately, quality of video is is not that good whenever these visual effects are used. I can show you some of those. For example, I mean, as an experiment, is it better this way, or there is I can like do something different. What is this? Some sort of, I don't know, a room there. Another one. I have a couple of pictures, couple of photos that can be used as a green screen. I will go through all of them. But yet again, quality is becoming little. I mean, this is traditional one that I was using, isn't it? Constantly. Maybe I will return it, dear friends. If you like this green screen better, then I will return this. Absolutely. Okay, let's do this. Let's bring it back. Let's bring it back. By the way, so once again, thank you very much for donation, and let's continue with their chatter. I'm scrolling now, dear friends. If I notice some question directed to me, I will of course react. Use capital Qs, dear friends, or capital letters so that it will be easy to spot. I'm scrolling on a StreamYard, and in window here I can see comments from both chats, from YouTube chat and Rumble chat. And let's see if I will spot some capital letters. I spotted. Nidish Kumar is commenting, Levan, Iran did not close the strait. This is a fake narrative. Iran clarified it officially. Well, I don't know. Russian media outlets big media outlets are reporting based on Iranian sources. So I just like literally a few minutes ago, shared information that Iran has not just shut down Strait of Hormuz, but also made demands that Strait will be shut down unless Israel stops aggression against Lebanon, violation of the ceasefire, and unless US will unfreeze Iranian assets and lift sanctions on oil. So Iran did shut down the Strait of Hormuz. And they are strengthening their stance, actually. Also, Nidish is commenting, Levan, get us South American news as well. This is important period for it. Okay. Thank you for request. I'll definitely pay more attention if there is interest. By the way, I mean how I'm building the programs. I'm mostly focused on main topics, right? Because I don't want my everyday news segments to be like tremendously long. Usually it's 1 hour, 30 minutes anyways, right? And therefore, when I'm building the program itself, when I'm preparing program, I have to choose news that I will share in order to keep program short or relatively short. But if there is interest towards developments in South America, of course, I do have news about South America whenever there is some major developments, and I will continue to pay more attention. I will pay more attention, but of course, I'm not going to go into details of some domestic developments in those countries, right? If nothing major is happening, then I will have to pass on it, right? Otherwise, yet again, there is so much interesting is happening that if I bookmarked all of those news for a program, then this program will be just 24 hours non-stop, and I just cannot do it. So, but I will pay more attention on major on news on major developments in regards to African continent, South America, and Oceania also. By the way, Oceania also. Australia is also undergoing some political crisis or might face political crisis. There are going to be elections, isn't it, soon there? So and also a question from Nidish. You see, dear friends, capital Q, capital letters, easy to spot her in the chatter. And the Nidish is commenting, Luana, how bigger is there a Rosatom plant in Burkina Faso going to be in gigawatts, not size? I don't know. I don't know, Nidish. You know, it's all depends. I guess it all depends on not just on needs of Burkina Faso, but first and foremost on money, on finances, right? Usually, you know how Russia builds these nuclear power plants all over the world. Russia itself is giving a credit to a country, and on this credit, then this building of the construction of the nuclear power plant is financed. And maybe, for example, and Russia is building nuclear power plants all over the world. This is not always the case that Russia is giving the credit on which then building is construction is done, but usually this is the case. And Russia is building nuclear power plants all over the world, even in China. You would wonder, why would China need Russia's help? But they need Russia's help. Russia is building nuclear power plants even in China, right? And so it all depends on finances, right? If Burkina Faso cannot afford, let's say, $10-15 billion credit, because you have to service this credit, right? It's easy to get the credit, but you have to service it, right? And if 15 billion is too much, then probably size of nuclear power plant will be smaller than usual, because usually on nuclear power plants there is at least 4 reactors, right? That's average, at least 4 reactors, 4 plus. 2 reactors, it's already small one. And I don't know any nuclear power plant that has only 1 reactor. Is there anything like that? So probably smallest that Russia builds is 2 nuclear reactors, and I guess at least on initial stages that will be their power plant that Russia might build there in Burkina Faso. But last time I read something about this topic was just declaration of intentions. There is no contract in place, I believe. It's just intention that sides have to cooperate in this field, and maybe Russia will build their nuclear power plant. But I mean, region is extremely dangerous one, extremely unstable one, and therefore until strategical stability is reached in the Sahel region, I don't think it's wise to build their nuclear power plants there, man, because it's extremely dangerous, isn't it? For locals, first and foremost. First, strategical stability has to be reached, and Burkina Faso is much more stable, let's say, than Niger or Mali, for sure. But still, Burkina Faso is facing terrorism threats also. So at this point, we are talking about just intention. You know, it's not. Okay. There was a super chat. There was a super chat, dear friends, on Rumble right now. from data clause. Let me highlight. So that's what I think, Nidish, but I don't know details, obviously, about talks between Russian side and Burkina Faso side about these nuclear power plants. I don't think they're going to be nuclear power plant there anytime soon. It's just, I don't think it's realistic. And this is a super chat from Data Closer. Thank you very much, Data Close, for second super chat and $2 donation. And Data Close is commenting, no green screen needed, just be you, authentic. And well, okay, okay. Let the majority decide. Let the majority decide. Comment, dear friends, what you prefer, a green screen or without a green screen. Right now, I can remove green screen, easy. That's it. And there is no green screen there. I would like to have a studio, dear friends. Of course, I would like to have a studio so that, without any green screen, background would be like interesting, nice. But I don't have a studio. Right now, I'm streaming. I'm always streaming from this dining room, basically right next to a kitchen. So that's how it is. Maybe one day, if our community will actually double on Patreon, right? If I will have some chance to further develop this project, then maybe one day I will have maybe one day we will then be able to move into another apartment where upfront I will look for an apartment where I can have my own corner, right, where I can build a little studio. But right now, it is what it is, and after all, my programs are about news and political commentary, right? That's the most important, and my first and foremost, my task is to provide community with their interesting, important news and their on the situation, right? Hopefully, I'm doing maybe not great job in this regard, but hopefully I'm doing okay, right? I'm trying though. At least I'm honest, man. At least I'm honest, as I always promised, right? I said I'm gonna be real, man, and that's how it is. I had to apologize on numerous occasions whenever I am too real, whenever emotions, whenever I'm becoming too emotional, right? I don't like that, but hopefully, my work is on okay level at least, right? But I hate when I go emotional, man, and when I use French and stuff like that. But when you are in this field, man, news, and unfortunately, like 90% of news is about some negativity that is happening in this freaking world, right? And at some point, it will get to you. Also, I spotted Nidish's question. Levan, does Russian people look at the leader while voting or party or candidate suitable for that constituency? I don't know how to pronounce properly this word, constituency. Well, of course, who is a party leader has impact, right? People are looking at the leaders. This is true in every country, isn't it? Of course, it does matter who is a leader of the party. We're gonna have parliamentary elections, right? And leader of the party will have a big role, and also some programs, right? That these parties gonna advertise. we have a system difference when there is a majoritarian uh, constituencies, right? And there is also party list. There is also party list, right? Every party has its list of candidates, and how depend on how many percentage point they will get of votes. That many people from this list will enter the parliament, and if they and also they might have more seats if their candidates are winning in majoritarian constituencies, right? We have this dual system, and a leader of parties have it is important who is the leader of the party, or with which people party is associated. Political program, of course, has importance, and also regional leadership. Also, regional leadership. For example, let's say if in your region, if you are living in Rizan region, for example, and if your governor is from United Russia Party, well, you might be not okay with the restraint policy of their president, but same time, if you are okay with the work of your governor, let's say in that Rizan region, if you approve the work of governor, if you think he's doing good job, then most likely you will support a majority candidate from United Russia Party, because it's your governor also gonna advocate for him, endorse him or she, right, her. So this dual system definitely gives some advantages to a ruling party, because majority of governors are from a ruling party, you see, and if locals are happy with the work of governor, well, most likely many people there are gonna vote for a majority candidate from a ruling party. Therefore, but when it comes to voting for a party, same people might vote for opposition party. That's how it's crazy, man, right? These dual systems it gives advantages to a ruling party. This system is used in many countries. In many countries, I don't know why. I don't really know why. Let's make either a completely majoritarian system or completely party system. But anyways, there are many nuances. But either way, I think if the deterrent with the collective West is not being restored until parliamentary elections that are going to take place late September, I think ruling party here in Russia, United Russia Party, will have some issues to maintain majority in the parliament. I'm quite sure about it. No matter who will advertise this party and everything else, special military operation is, of course, always on minds of the people, right? And everyone, maybe not everyone, but many people, significant part of society definitely understands that the deterrent with the Western ruling class has to be restored, because it cannot be left like it is now. Now, it's just too dangerous. So that's my answer. People pay attention, of course, to leaders of the party, to political program, to regional leadership and their work also. Many nuances. It all depends how deep you look in the political process, right? I'm quite sure there are going to be people, by the way, who will go during the parliamentary election and vote for some candidates or the parties that will be recommended by some celebrities. It's stupid, isn't it? When you go and vote based on recommendation of celebrity, but some people will do that, and this is happening everywhere, right? Literally everywhere, man. In Russia, in US, or celebrity endorsement not gonna guarantee success, and we saw that in US, isn't it? So many celebrities endorsed Kamala Harris, and she lost anyways. But many people probably went and voted for Kamala just because she was endorsed by, I don't know, those celebrities. So it all depends how deeper each individual is looking into political processes, right? And based on what that person makes decisions. Some makes decisions based on some surface knowledge of stuff, right? Well, some celebrity recommended, so yeah, must be a good candidate, and they will go and vote for it without thinking much about it. Other people will dig in deeper and then try to understand their better and make better decision based on better knowledge. So it's all different. Either way, United Rush Party gonna have trouble during the elections if the deterrent is not being restored with the collective West. And also Nidish is commenting, Rwando, Digital SU-75 prototype is ready for a flight. They are offering it to us now. There was no reports about it, Nidish, here in Russian media. My guess is that, yes, SU-35 prototype is already undergoing testing. I'm quite sure about it. And probably one or two prototypes have been built, but officially there was no statements. Since the presentation of SU-75 checkmate, that one engine, fifth gen fighter jet that's supposed to be, competitor to, American F-35, after presentation, there was very little information about it, really. But I think prototype, maybe not just one, but potentially two, maybe more prototypes are builder, because there are rumors, isn't it, that are circulating. Some test flights probably are done, but officially nothing was shared with the public, nothing. So I cannot know. But there is a two-seat version of Su-57, isn't it? And well, of course, Su-75 is supposed to be much cheaper than Su-57, but nevertheless, Su-57 is either way will be much more capable, because after all, it's a two-engine massive plane that can carry much more weapon systems and stuff. And why would not India invest in this two-seated Su-57? If it was up to me, I would prefer Su-57. but it all comes down to money, isn't it? I mean, if Su-57 costs, let's say, I don't know, $50-60 million each, maybe $70 million. I don't even know how much those planes cost. Maybe $100 million, I don't know. But if Su-57 costs, let's say, $70 million, and Su-75's approximate price, is going to be $40 million. Well, if you keep in mind that service of two-engine fighter jet will always be much more expensive, much more costly than one-engine plane, then overall, through years, if you calculate for next 10 years, of course, Su-75 will come much cheaper than Su-57s. But yet again, it all depends on how much money you have and what is your task, what is your why you are buying the plane, right? What is your interest? I don't like one-engine planes, man. I just don't like one-engine planes. They can be good. They can be good. They can be legendary, and there are many examples. But I think two-engine plane is just much more reliable, at least much more reliable. If something happened to one engine, you always have a second one that you can rely on. With one engine plane, especially if country is big, and Russia and India, it's big countries, man, right? When you are talking about massive countries, two engine plane is the way to go, I think, because you have more weapons, more fuel, more range. It's just better. I see question. Gigi, right? Or GLGL is commenting. Do you trust the Russian election integrity? I guess you meant trust, isn't it? Well, generally speaking, yes. There are going to be some mishaps here and there, but in general terms, I mean, you cannot lie to freaking 150 million people, right? People will know. People will know if numbers are not realistic. You will lose in people's minds. You will lose legitimacy. So you don't want to mess around elections. You just don't want it. You might try to use whatever influence you as a ruling party have to persuade people more effectively to vote for you. But to speculate with numbers, that's an extremely dodgy move, extremely risky move, and I don't think they will go for it, man. I don't think they will go for it. I mean, ruling party, even if even in situation when they might actually face serious challenges to maintain majority. You don't mess with numbers, right? But a ruling party always has advantage because it's a ruling party. They have governors all over the country. So for them, it is much easier to persuade people to vote for them, right? Opposition parties, and there is 4 of them in the parliament, and there is hundreds of them outside of parliament. For them, it is, of course, much more difficult to persuade people because, after all, majority has much more officials, right, than opposition parties. And every time these officials make statements, you can argue that's advertising for the party, right? Because it is, man, indirect advertising. So majority always is in advantageous position. So opposition, only chance, by the way, if you ask me, only chance, realistically speaking, that United Russia party will lose majority is if all the opposition parties, all the parliamentary opposition parties, and outside of parliamentary, if they want to, but outside of parliament, they're just too freaking small. But nevertheless, all the leading opposition parties, let's say, if they will unite, right, in that case, they might have a chance to gain majority. Maybe, right? But if they all go separately, and there are LDPR, by the way, there are People's Party, Just Party, Communist Party. This is parliamentary parties together with United Russia. If those parties decide that they're gonna go independently, right, without coalitions, then in that case, ruling party will maintain majority, easy, right? It all depends on ambitions, right? Everybody is so freaking ambitious nowadays, right? But if parties or opposition parties unite, they might have a chance, man. They might have a good chance, actually. Even if a Russian president restores deterrent with the collective West, opposition party, if they will create a bloc, they might have a chance. But if they go separately, man, they're gonna struggle. They're gonna struggle, right? But when it comes to integrity, yet again, there might be some instances when something was done wrong here and there. Russia is a huge country, isn't it? But I don't believe Central Election Committee will manipulate with the numbers. I mean, why would they? It's just extremely, extremely risky. It will. I mean, you don't want to do this, man. You don't want to manipulate with numbers because that will jeopardize legitimacy of the system. It's too dangerous, and the ruling party don't have need in that either because they are in advantageous position anyways, and probably parliamentary opposition parties will not unite. They will go separately on elections, and they will all lose. Therefore, why? Because of their ambitions, right, of the leaders of those parties. I have seen this kind of stuff so many times, man. Due to ambitions of one and two, entire parties being crushed. Also, Christopher Sorella is commenting, asking, Levan, do you get fined if you don't vote in Russia? In Australia, if you don't vote, you get fined. Oh, really? No, you don't get fined there. When there was a presidential elections like 2 years ago now, isn't it? I didn't vote. And it's up to you. I mean, if you want to vote, you vote. If you don't, you don't. No fines, by the way. I mean, it's your decision and only your decision, by the way. No one else's. But you know what? I can understand why voting might be justified to be mandatory because you are taking on yourself responsibility, right? If it's a social contract, and it is a part of a social contract, right? That you are taking on yourself responsibility, but so some might justify mandatory voting, but on the other hand, if I don't like none of the parties, what should I do? I mean, let's say I don't like, there is 10 parties, 20 parties, whatever, and I don't like any of those parties. What should I do? I should go and vote for one of those parties anyways, just because there is some fine? No, I don't like that, right? So, probably we have a better system that it's up to you. You want to vote, you go and vote. There is no fines on that. But maybe it works in Australia. I mean, I don't know. There was a super chat. There was a super chat. There was another super chat from Data Close, dear friends. Let me on Rumble. Let me react on it. So Data Closer, thank you very much again for your third super chat today. And Data Close is commenting, your expression of feelings on the situation is genuine. You live there. Where else we can get it? The real reporter from Russia, just you, Levan. Don't change for everyone. Your experience is real. Thank you very much, Data Close, once again for your kind words, sir. And I'm gonna keep my word, as I promised. I'm gonna be real, and I will try to just keep my emotions in check, right? Because sometimes I go crazy, really crazy. Sometimes I say some nasty stuff, man, right? While emotional, and that's what we all do, right? When you go emotional, you say some stuff that you don't necessarily even want to say or mean even, right? You say some nasty stuff. You become using French too much, right? And it's not good. So I'm gonna try my best to to make sure that my program is going to be family friendly and my language going to be family friendly. But yeah, I'm going to stay real. No matter what, I'm going to stay real, and I'm going to share my opinions, by the way. Not someone else's opinions, but my opinions, with which you might agree or disagree, but you will always know that I'm honest. I'm sharing my opinion and my take on the situation. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for your super chat and the kind words. Day to close. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. And let's continue with the chatter. I see Nidish Kumar is commenting, Levan, does Russia have regional parties in its different republics, and how are elections different in autonomous regions? No, there is no regional parties. If you are a political party, I believe you have to have representation in majority of regions here in Russia. It does not matter it's autonomous republic or non-autonomous republic. You have to have a representation in majority of country, majority of regions, so that you are nationwide. You can be called a nationwide party. Only in that case you can participate in parliamentary elections, and that makes sense because no matter how popular you are in Moscow, for example, as a party, let's say, if you have no representation all over the country, or at least in majority, then you are not nationwide party. So you can participate in local elections then, okay? But in the federal elections, no, sorry. So I believe if you want to participate in a parliamentary election, you have to have representation in majority of Russian regions, including autonomous republics. And there is no difference between voting, let's say, in autonomous republic and any other region of the Russian Federation. Everything is the same. It's Russia, by the way, right? I spent so many years in North Ossetia, Alania, for example, proud member of the Russian Federation, and everything is the same. It's Russia, period. So there is no separate laws for them there. No, it's all the same. There are some local specifics, right? In every region, there is some local celebrities and local traditions, and all this stuff, of course, has some impact, obviously, right? But law is one for all. Christopher Sorella is commenting, Levan, get in touch with Stanislav Krapivnik, or maybe you can do a stream with him when he has Larry Johnson on his stream. I had an interview with Christopher. I had an interview with Stanislav Krapivnik. Nowadays, I don't do interviews or collaborations, but in past several years, I did make several interviews, and all the interviews are on my page. Last interview I made was exactly with Stanislav Krapivnik. He does great job, by the way. I think whenever I listen to programs where he is a guest, very rarely I can find something that I would disagree. Maybe because we both live in Russia, right? And we both are pro-Russian and are very supportive of Russian military security services, and we are on the same page, basically, right? He is a media personality, so he has to be. Therefore, he cannot allow himself to be as emotional as I am time to time. He may not be as direct as I am time to time, but generally speaking, we are on the same page, right? That's how I see it anyways. And he's doing great job. And once I will find myself in a position to restore interviews, I will definitely contact Stanislav and ask for an interview to invite on my channel. When it comes to me being on other channels, it does not depend on me, obviously. Every now and then I've been invited on different channels, and as I said, because I am not doing interviews, I'm not inviting guests on my channel, and therefore I'm not going on other channels too. Last time, like 2 weeks ago, approximately 2 weeks ago, I was invited there. I would not mention. I was invited on one of the channels. I can give you a hint, by the way. Channel is related to UK. That's all I can tell. And I decided that I'm in no position right now to just go around and give interviews and stuff, and therefore I refuse. Maybe one day I will be in a better position. My confidence will be on a higher level as a political commentator, and then maybe more there will be interviews and stuff. Thank you very much for your commentary. I see there was a donation, dear friends, through PayPal from Patrick. Let me highlight, if I may. So thank you very much, Patrick, for $20 donation. And Patrick is commenting, keep up the good work, and you and your family stay safe. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Patrick, for your kind words, for your support, attention. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And let's continue with the chat. You see, Nidish is commenting on the same topic of elections. The one we have an option called NOTAR in our election system, which means none of the above. It's a protest vote. Against everybody, right? Or no, not in support of anyone. Yes, that's a good that's good stuff. If I guess Australians also have something similar, because if you are forced to, if it's mandatory to go to vote, then if you don't like no party, then you can choose this option, right? That against all or something like that. Makes sense. Makes sense. I don't think we have in ballots this against all. You just either go. I mean, yet again, we don't have mandatory elections, so there is no need to have against all, right? If you don't want to vote, you just don't go, and that's it. And statistics will show people's attitude. If during the parliamentary election only 20% of people or 30% of people showed up on the polling stations, then that will be indicator that, well, people are not happy with any of these freaking parties, right? And they just choose to carry on with their own daily business, right? Instead of wasting hour or two for elections. So that will be message on its own also. But it makes sense if voting is mandatory, this kind of stuff definitely makes sense. To vote against, in support of nobody or against all or something like that. We don't have that kind of stuff. This time around, by the way, I'm thinking about going on elections, right? I didn't decide it yet. For which party I might vote. Election campaign is not even in active phase. It's already later June. In 3 months, literally in 3 months' time, we have elections, and their campaign is not really noticeable. Election campaign. So I have not decided yet what I will do. But yet again, if opposition parties, in parliamentary opposition parties did not create a coalition, I mean, you may vote for them, but it's next to impossible that they will have a majority on their own to replace, let's say, Единая Россия. It's just not possible, right? If they create coalition, that will bring some interest to these elections, right? That will bring some interest to these elections, and people will go and vote. But right now, I guess very many people here in Russia are as I am, in a situation when undecided, right? When we are undecided, we don't really know for which party to vote. I have nothing against any of those parties because I'm opposed to restriction. This what is their name? Word, man. Restriction policy, not restriction, but because I'm against this policy that Russian president implements in regards to Western ruling class. I would not vote for United Russia, therefore. But I forgot the word. Maybe I'm just too tired now. Just a sec, dear friends. Restrained policy, restrained. Yes, that's the word, by the way, I was looking for. Because I'm opposed to this restrained policy of the Russian president, I would not vote for a ruling party. I know that for sure. But I have not this decision about for which party I would vote. If they get united, that makes sense. It will be interesting to send a message, right, to leadership. But if they will decide to go separately, what they gonna achieve, man? Really, I don't know. Also, GLGL is commenting how you can get political agreement with the EU, US, or they want to surrender or keep fighting. Yeah, that's exactly correct, isn't it? And well, what they want to surrender. They want, of course, Russia to agree on tremendous concessions, and their appetite of Western ruling class definitely might be the reason why there might be no agreement reached, political solution reached, at least as of now. Because you can imagine level of demands that Western elites will come up with while they are absolutely convinced that they are winning. Which is not true, by the way, which is absolutely not true. But that's what they think, right? So their demands will be absolutely out of touch with reality, and Putin obviously will, I mean, would not be able to reach any agreement with those people, you know, even though he will prefer political solution to the crisis, and he was quite open about it on numerous occasions. So now ambitions, this extreme confident, unbased, but extreme confidence of the Western ruling class, these delusional ideas that they are winning, and their unbelievable ambitions that they have, therefore, might be the actual reason why they will derail any chances to reach any concessions from Russian side. If they had a reasonable takes, Moscow already said, isn't it, that, well, they agreed on concessions in Anchorage, for example, and I guess those concessions were something serious, right? Something that Kremlin would struggle to sell to Russian public. But no one is remembering Anchorage no more, right? They are on different page. They have very different demands, and maybe for sure, Western elites not even realizing that they themselves derailing the chances that they will get any concessions from Moscow whatsoever, because of how out of touch with reality they are. I see commenter from Nidish Kumar, and Nidish is commenting, Levan, what do Russian people think when Kazakhstan asking for reparations in that area for so many nuclear tests? I think it might be used against Russia soon to develop cracks. Well, the cracks already exist, by the way. British Secret Services, globalists, and their assets, including Turkey, by the way, they did quite a lot to generate the cracks between Kazakhstan and the Russian Federation. Although based on geography, I think Kazakhstani elites, no matter how influenced they are by Western elites, they will have no option but to try at least to keep normal relationships with both Russia on one side and China on the other side. But attempts to create cracks in the relationships will be always there, right? Western ruling class will never stop to try this. When it comes to all sorts of some local political processes in Kazakhstan that are in some ways related to Russia, and or some topics that being politicized in Kazakhstan and used by some extreme elements to derail Russia-Kazakhstan relationships, including, for example, topic of compensations. Well, in that case, Russia might ask for compensations Kazakhstan, right? If Kazakhstan chooses this direction, it would not lead to any good place, right? One should not forget that even though modern Russia is a successor of the Soviet Union, it was the Soviet Union that conducting nuclear tests, and it was a Kazakhstani leadership at the time that was authorizing these tests to take place in Kazakhstan territory, right? And so it would not work this way that, well, everything that we did not like in the Soviet Union, now Russia's fault. Easy for these republics, these Soviet republics, others did not have their word to say. They had, by the way, right? In many cases, these capitals of republics, they were abusing Russia, abusing Russian economy in most of the cases, right? And now they are trying to act like victims, many of them, which is a shameful behavior, obviously, but that's what many did. But yet again, I would not recommend to any former republic to mess around Russia, man. I would not, honestly. It would not end well for them. They should be grateful for all the good and kindness that they get from Russia. and they all should be grateful that they even exist. Kazakhstan exists because of the Soviet Union, by the way, because of the Russian Empire and then Soviet Union. So everyone just should be good people, man. We all should be good people, and when someone does some kindness to you, be grateful, be good human being, and don't treat this someone that did some good for you. Don't treat them as enemies. If no Russia, if no Russian people, not Russian Empire, by the way, many nations that we know now that also were part of Soviet Union would not exist, literally would not exist, by the way, physically, right? So, but yet again, Astana is not escalating. Officially, Astana is not escalating with Moscow. Astana officially does not seek conflict with Russia, and let's hope it will stay this way. But if it comes to compensations for this and that, then I'm quite sure, there are topics on which Kazakhstan can be asked for compensations. What about modern days? How come that Kazakhstani territory is used for drone attacks on Russian territory? Kazakhstani leadership, Kazakhstani state institutions are not involved in that, right? I'm quite sure about it, but they are also not in control of their own territory, and this is used by UK, British Secret Services, British militaries. This is used by their Ukrainian proxies to launch drones from Kazakhstan to strike Russia. So what about compensations for that then? And if you go on this ladder, then it will never end, right? So therefore, there always will be groups of interest that will try to derail relationships between Russia and any of its neighbor. But hopefully, people of these countries will be clever enough, adequate enough to maintain brotherly, friendly relationships. That's what I think. Kukulkan Man is commenting on, do the Russian people support helping Cuba with their weapons? I'm quite sure. My opinion based on people that I know, and there are people that with whom I have spoke about Cuba, and I have spoke about Cuba, by the way, with many people because my family we have relatives in Cuba, so we are not partial observers. And so I believe Russian people, based on my conversations, will support any assistance to Cuban people, to people of Cuba, any assistance, humanitarian, economical, financial, military, any assistance for Cuba will be approved by Russian society. I'm quite sure about it. It again, based on my experience, my knowledge, but that's where Russian society is, I think. George is commenting on, what do you think of movie Stalker? Oh, by the way, this is a Soviet movie you're talking about, isn't it? Soviet era movie. By the way, I have seen that movie for so long, so much time ago that it's been acclaimed to be classic. This movie, if we are talking about same movie, this movie is being acknowledged as a classic, right? But honestly, I can't remember. I can't remember details of the movie. I don't really have strong opinion on that. But by society, by many people, this movie is acknowledged as to be classic. I cannot remember even name of the director, also famous legendary director, by the way. I can't remember even the name of the director. I'm not that big in the movies. I like movies. I watch movies, especially science fiction stuff, uh, historical and science fiction stuff, right? But there are movies that I don't really have a strong opinion because either I have not seen ever or I have seen very long time. And when it comes to Stalker, all I can remember is some freaking fragments of main hero that moving in through this freaking dystopian, right? Urban gray area, destroyed or something like that, ruins. I can't remember much of the movie really, so I don't really have a strong opinion. Tarkovsky, yes, yes, absolutely. It's Tarkovsky's movie, by the way. Tarkovsky is also legendary director, but as you see, I mean, there is topics that I don't really have strong opinions to share. So I will, you know, I will make it clear also that yeah, I just last movie that I was impressed. For example, goodness me, man, I can't even tell you. And I like to watch movies, by the way, but I can't now tell you which was the last movie that was kind of impressive or I was surprised with the quality uh, of ideas that movie was presenting. You know, good movies become very rare stuff, isn't it? So, and also Nitish is commenting, Levan, what the point of these media outlets like Novara Media neutrality studies? Are they anarchists? They don't like any government style? Oh, yeah, I don't know. Uh, I don't know. I mean, yet again, this is topic that I don't really have a stronger opinion. Um, I mean, let's hope there will be more and more independent channels, right? Let's embrace differences of opinions and clashes of opinions and ideas. It's better when you have a choice than when you don't, right? So therefore, I'm not going to criticize no media outlet in alternative media. Uh, I don't know about political views or ideological views of their anchors of this or hosts of this uh, projects. And so all I can say, I can wish them a good luck, right? In all the good endeavors, and that's all I can say, really. A Viper is commenting, Le Mans should take Monday off. Nobody watches. Uh, one day off will be good. Quite some time I'm taking Saturdays off. But Viper, I was actually thinking to take some time ago. I was thinking, they should be one day off, right? Not to burn out myself and just to stay away for a little while, to stay away from media outlets, news, and all that kind of stuff. And I was thinking which day, and I was thinking about Monday because no one likes Monday, anyways. But I don't know. I don't know. In this field, basically, in the journalism, there is no day offs, actually, right? Sometimes you might get day off, and sometimes you might not. It does not matter. You are working in alternative media or in MSN. In my younger days, when I was working in news agencies, in Georgia, and I was working in the best news agencies, by the way, there, right? Um, it was, day off was, there was no day off, right? It does not exist. In the journalism, there is no such understanding as day off. You are journalist, you are working always, right? And it's up to you then when you are busy and when you are not. You are your own director, kind of, right? Uh, and yeah, that's how it is. And and one more question from Nidish, and let's finalize this live stream on that. Nidish is commenting, Levan, if Belarus is attacked by Ukraine, will Putin asks restraint from Belarus? He might, actually. He might. It depends on which stage these behind the closed door negotiations are between Moscow and Washington, between Moscow and whichever European capital, Brussels or some answer. If sides behind the closed doors, one thing is what they are talking about publicly, right? But if behind the closed doors they are close to reach some agreement, some political solution, maybe in that case Putin will ask Minsk for restraint if Belarus is attacked, and I'm quite sure Moscow is asking Belarus for restraint already. Because, by the way, you think all these hundreds and hundreds of drones that are launched against Russia are not crossing Belarusian airspace? Those drones are using Belarusian, in many cases, drones from Kiev-controlled territory are entering Belarusian airspace, and then from Belarus to Russian Federation. Moscow is not talking about it, Minsk is not talking about it, but it's happening. So Moscow has already asked, I believe, Minsk to exercise restraint, and might do the same if the regime actually launches attacks on Belarus. But yet again, it depends on what stage these behind the closed door talks are right now. If sides are nowhere near to any political solution or agreement, in that case, probably Moscow will not ask, not for restraint, not for nothing, and probably Moscow will launch offensive from Belarus into Chernigov and the Sumy regions. And Belarusian militaries might assist this time around directly if Kyiv regime launches massive attacks on Belarus. If there is some small skirmishes, some small provocation, in that case, Belarus will respond with restraint. But if something big is happening, then I think Russia will launch military operation from Belarus, and Belarusian armed forces might join. Might. And one more question. Christopher Sorella is commenting, Luana, did you know they made a movie called Odessa File starring John Watt? Made was in 1974. Oh, no. Maybe I have seen movie, maybe, but is this movie about some espionage stuff? Maybe I have seen something this movie, or maybe I have seen something with Odessa in the name, and I'm confused with that, but I cannot remember for sure. That's I didn't remember. So, and also question from Arthur Cottrell. Levan, there have been reports of at least 6 Serbian tigers Siberian tigers in Alaska. Is that even possible? No. I mean, technically, yes, but only if those tigers were taken by some people and bring into and left out in the open in Alaska. Other than that, how those tigers naturally would cross Bering Strait? Yes, in winter it's frozen, but this is not an area where tigers. This is not usual behavior for tiger to go for a walk through ice, right? They are in the forest. They are in taiga, right? They are in forest and then they stay in the forest. So I don't think this is real stuff. No, maybe some people just somehow get their hands on Siberian tiger cubs and they bring them there and then let them go free. But I don't think so. They will be hunted down, probably, if true. They will be hunted down because they will destabilize their natural habitat of other species, right? They will be ultimate hunters in the region. They will take on bears, by the way, easy. Tigers. Not white bears, not polar bears, but brown bears. Tigers can take on brown bears easy. So I don't think this is realistic. That they are Siberian tigers, biggest cats, by the way, in the world. I don't think this is true. Maybe some speculations, but I have not read I have not seen nothing in the media, at least here in Russia, on the matter. And one more question, dear friends, and let's end live stream on that. White Falcon is commenting today, June 21st, from 9 a.m. fuel sales at the Crimean gas stations have been suspended for both cash and non-cash payments, as well as their vouchers for individuals and the legal entities. Is this true? It is true. I spoke about it, White Falcon, in the beginning of the stream during the news segment. I shared the information that governor of Crimea made the address to Crimean residents and shared information that fuel from gas stations will be given only to emergency services and services that are involved in the protection of their island from attacks. So this is a temporary measure, and hopefully soon situation will become better in terms of logistics and supplies of all sorts of goods, not just fuel, but everything. And also one more question from Christopher Sorweller. Do you know they have a cat in Russia called the Palace cat? Oh, I know Palace cat. I know Palace cat. Also cat family. Also a cat family, and I know existence of this this breed. It's a these cats are called. There is a second name also. I can't remember now. Very cute cats, by the way. Very cute cats. They look literally like a house cat, but they are not house cats. Manul, they are like Manul, isn't it? So and you see, Nitish Kumar is commenting that Palace cat are found in Himalayas as well. Yes, these are cats with their, Manul Palace cat with their very uh, rich this coat, right? Um, and they are very vulnerable. They are very vulnerable, I believe, and it is not recommended to keep them as a pet at home because they have no protection from all sorts of viruses that domesticated cats are adapted to already, right? But yeah, anyways, dear friends, thank you very much. Yes, I mean, Manul, wonderful creature. Yes, absolutely. They're beautiful cats, wonderful cats for sure. And thank you very much, dear friends, for your time, for your attention. I hope you like the conversation. You like the new segment itself. We had a good chat, isn't it? We had a good chat. Many thanks to all the members of community who donated during the stream to this channel, supported, and many thanks to everybody, of course, who ever supported and continues to support her. I wish you a nice day and take care. See you tomorrow.